They've updated the software. Assalamu alaikum, Kaya. Ismail, how are you doing? Well, that's a right, let's shake hands like men because we're strong men. Yeah. I mean, it's still
that's
not.
A firm.
No.
I mean, it's a bit awkward.
There you go.
Most men don't.
There you go, yeah.
Most men don't have the handshake above an Apple Mac.
That's true. Yeah.
Under a microphone.
Yeah.
But I think we did well.
But because I'm a tech guy.
Yeah, you had to do that.
Because I work in AI.
I was surprised you had the Apple Watch on as well.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah.
How's things, bro?
Alhamdulillah, man. It's good. We were just saying before you turn the cameras on. It's been a while since I've been on the pod.
Yeah.
You went to London. I didn't, so. We were, yeah.
I'm hoping that your audio is fine, man, because your levels seem a bit low.
Shall I speak up?
No, go again.
Hello.
It seems fine, bro.
Yeah,
it seems fine.
I definitely need to get back in the habit of like this. Cause
I don't think it's you.
it's not me, it's you, innit?
Yeah.
Fine.
So we're going to do a quick episode, because we're actually shooting this on the day that it goes out, which sometimes happens at FG, because sometimes people get busy. I flew in, obviously, back into Dubai this week, so been quite busy. And then, so I was like I was like a bachelor for like the last 2 weeks because I was in London without the wife, without the kids. I was there for work, and so I was so busy with work every day. But obviously, when I always finish work at a decent time. I finished a bit later these days, like maybe 7 p.m. or 8 p.m., which for me is quite late, very late. But I was no wife, no kids, bro. So I'd be going out at like 9 p.m. till 1 a.m., sleeping at 1 a.m., 2 a.m. It was incredible. I haven't done this since I was like 14 or something, like a teenager. And so I'd see, even though I was like busy during the day, I didn't see much of people during the day because I was just working. I would see my friends a lot during the evenings. When I say my friends, Only and Cream. I have 2 friends in the UK. But I'd see them, so that was really lovely. And then I came back, and then for 3 days I was here at the same time as my wife. And then she's gone now. Her sister lives in Qatar. Her dad's been here, so she had a mahram to go with. So for the first time, she's able to like go. Otherwise, we all have to go together. So because her dad was here, she was able to go there to see her sister. So now I'm back to being. I'm like a single dad for a couple of days, just a couple of days. But point is, I've been busy. Okay.
You have been busy.
Yeah.
You have been busy.
No, but you've been busy too.
That's
right?
why we're going to be up tonight, 3 a.m. drinking karak.
Exactly.
Like, just be a single again for one night, mate.
And on that note, I have something. So now we have a friend behind. Yeah, we have a friend behind the camera who's
genuinely surprised
anonymous. Did it?
Yeah, I think I saw the box downstairs, but I didn't read it, and now I know what it is.
Have you had it? Do you know what this is?
No, I don't know what it is.
Have you had it?
I'm guessing dessert, but
yeah. But, so I'll tell you what it is. So we have a friend behind the camera who's going to remain anonymous because he's a private guy.
Yes.
So for the sake of this episode, we'll call him Akhi. Have you had these? No. So the reason I ask our friend here is because you're obviously a health freak. So you have 0 sugar. Yes, 0 sugar. Basically, so you're not going to have these, are you? Yeah, I thought so.
So basically, you're just excluding him from...
Yeah. And I'm not going to have...
Hold on, you've now guilt-tripped him for not even taking a slice.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. You're not having these, right?
You would never touch this, would you?
You're a health freak, right?
You would never come near this.
Meanwhile, he's sitting there like, just, am I?
Yeah.
No. And I've already had one.
So basically, I'm going to have the whole
So did you, yeah. So this is called Crownies.
Oh, wow.
Right?
I don't know what that is.
Bro, that's what I thought. So what would you guess Crownies are?
Firstly, before I say anything, I like...
The branding.
I like the branding. I like the Arabic, how they literally just spelled Crownies in Arabic.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. I'm imagining cookies. Brownies. What am I talking about? It must be brownie.
So you said cookies at first?
I was going to say cookies, yeah.
But now what do you think?
Well, he said brownie, Crownies. I mean, I'd be an idiot not to agree with that.
So you think they're just brownies?
No, a brownie with some sort of crown. Maybe this is a cookie brownie.
This
is Domino's.
Hold on, cookie brownie.
Right. I think it's a brownie with a pepperoni on top.
Can I please just stick your mic on? Is it impossible? You're not going to let me. Why? No one knows who you are. We don't have to say your name.
It's too high key. Come on.
I can really say your name, but not your mic. Can we have one or the other? We can say your name? Everyone has this name. I love it. All right, so we've got our friend Abdullah with us. Which, by the way, we all...
That's what I was going to say. Like, even say his name. It's still amazing.
So anyway, so you're close. So they're called Crownies. I guessed croissant brownies. Now you might think, what?
Hold on.
Yeah.
Let's dissect this. Domino's, pizza place Italian.
Yeah.
You thought it was going to be a French pastry, yeah?
Yeah, but here's why. Because, have you guys heard of the cronut?
That's a good point.
Right,
yeah.
so I'm using deductive thinking here. I'm thinking, well, if the cr in dessert is synonymous now with croissants, let's say croissants have taken over the croissant market. Yeah. There's only one monopoly in the croissant.
That's true.
In desserts.
That's true. But however, a rebuttal would be the fact that it's called crown. So it's like there's something on top of it.
That's true.
And it's
So actually, that's wrong. Your original thing that you were going to say was right,
Fine.
though. So actually, the cookie brownies.
Okay.
The brownies and cookies are baked in them.
Oh, wow.
It's your idea of a nightmare, Abdullah. Yeah. But Kaya, you must have three. There's 3 remaining.
I'm not having 3.
No, you can have 1 though.
No, I'll have 1 now. I'll take the rest home.
Yeah. I'm not 3. Right, let me finish my sentence. Anyway, you can't really have it on the pod because it's like difficult to have. But maybe you can have it while I give you a monologue. Yeah. But give it a bite so we could just get your review.
Fine.
Now, considering we're doing a short podcast, this is now taking up 20% of the episode. No, how is it?
Not good.
They're really good. Yeah, because sometimes these things are like gimmicky, like the cronut. I hate it. I can't stand. I love a croissant and I love a donut. So I thought, hey, this is me.
Yeah.
They created this for someone. No, it's horrible with cronut. So I thought maybe a similar thing here. Obviously, Big Face is going to test it out.
Yeah.
And incredible.
I feel like you're more adventurous with desserts, but I'm more adventurous with like actual food.
Yeah, that's very true. Yeah.
I don't really branch out with desserts that much. I've noticed recently. Like, I'll just get the same kind of dessert. Like for example, I love a good rice put. You know muhallebiya?
No.
In Turkish muhallebi, it's basically like in Lebanese food or Arabic food, it's like milk, pistachios. You probably would like it. It's like a milk pudding with pistachios on it.
Well, I mean, I love milk and love pistachios.
You like it. Muhallebiya.
Yeah.
You know when you go at Safadi, the Lebanese place, get muhallebiya for dessert.
Oh, I ordered that the other day.
Yeah, it's very
I didn't know that they had...
So I'll just get that. It's like plain, but nice. So I'll just get that all the time, like that kind of stuff. I'd rarely order that kind of thing.
But now you would, wouldn't you?
These are one of the perks of knowing you.
Yeah.
I'll get, every night I'll get a Crownie.
There you go.
Get Crownie.
You're welcome.
That's basically the main reason I'd stay in contact.
Yeah. No, I'm glad.
Yeah.
So if we get serious for a second now, I'm frustrated. I was mentioning to you that we haven't started. Sorry. Before we do this, we have to order something because obviously short episode, and we want something to come so that we can chill with Abdullah after the episode.
Any Crownies?
So you're not gonna have sugar. I was thinking we get teas for Philly.
Yeah.
Right.
Little carrot.
You'll have carrot tea. I can get less sugar one. Should I get less sugar one?
I was literally like rolling his eyes at it. It's like, right, these guys just like sugar in it.
I feel inferior when I'm around you, Abdullah. I feel bad for smelling sugar.
Like, whenever I'm with Abdullah, I'm like, bro, I need to wake up early to go to the gym.
Yeah. Okay. Allah Barak. May Allah bless you and protect you.
I mean, Allah Barak.
Okay. Philly tea, less sugar.
Philly
carrot tea. You never had Philly tea?
Look,
Right, now you're kicking the camera. I have to get out of here. No, joking. Okay. Philly tea, less sugar. Are we all good with that?
Yeah.
Yeah? Right, I'm going to go Philly Saffron max sugar.
When we had Rafi here.
Yeah.
What did he say was the best one? Saffron?
Rafi, i.e. CEO of Philly.
Yeah, the main man at Philly.
Yeah, Big Don. So be careful before you... In the same room that you're in right now, we've had the owner, the founder, the CEO, the groundbreaker, the man who had the dream and put it into place, the man who had the dream and built the team. He had the vision and executed to precision. Rafi Philly. And he changed his last name. Don't say who's that. Don't say who's that because I just heard he's the founder of Philly Calf.
Yeah.
Which is an incredible, huge...
I want to ask you to put some respect on the word cafe, because I think when you say calf, when I hear someone say
sounds like a builder's calf.
A builder's calf, it's like, oh, you alright, mate? One of those teas that's got like no tea.
Fine, all right.
So
Philly Cafe. Yeah. Philly Cafe. Oh, it sounds so much prestige now.
There you go. Suddenly
okay. Abdullah, listen, Rafi is a good friend of ours, a good friend of the pod. Yeah. So just be careful now.
We met him once.
Yeah, we met him. Yeah. Well, we're not going to get an episode today. All right. You've never had carrot tea from Philly?
Hold on. Have you? Oh, really?
You had 2 carrot teas.
Wow.
So this is why it's annoying that you don't have mic, because we have to repeat everything you say. Yeah. It's fine.
It's all right. We'll just do all the work for you.
Right, here's what we're going to do, because we have to get the episode started. We're going to do, Philly tea. I'm sure I can't seem to find it. Here we go. No, but they don't have the less sugar one as a big group one.
All right.
Why not just go across that truck?
No, that truck
That
across
takes
the road it's not as good as Philly.
Not as good, more expensive, and it will take ages.
I was gonna say it's more expensive as well. Yeah. And this we can order, and then we can do the episode. And then while it's, are you good with full sugar? Yeah. 3 cups. I'm just gonna do a 3 cup saffron sugar. I'll do the 5 cup in case. It's a fancy one for breakfast. Yeah, if I'm honest.
There you go. Have you had an ice karak before? Ice karak.
No.
Go to Karak Inc. with your missus.
Okay.
And the kids, I guess. It's a drive-through place. It's like, you know, Box Park. You know the Box Park here. It's in Jumeirah.
Sorry, would you like any snack? Any bites? That's a yes.
Yeah.
Would you like some bites? Oh, you're not going to touch a Crownie. Don't even try it.
Get a little chicken. What do they got? Oh, mate. What was that thing you got me last time from Philly? That was amazing.
But I don't know, because one of them is really spicy, one of them is fine. There's a Szechuan chicken foodles and there's a Manchurian chicken foodles. Right. One of them is amazing. The other one's really spicy. I can't remember which one's which.
It's the Szechuan. And the Szechuan noodles they have, best noodles I've ever had, hands down. But 4 hours later, I thought I was going to die. I'm not even joking.
Yeah, he's not joking.
I actually thought, I'm not exaggerating
No, he's not joking.
I genuinely thought, like, I was having the symptoms, bro. Like, it was so,
no, it was just spicy.
He
can't handle spice.
I couldn't handle the spice. No. It's Szechuan noodles, but it was very, very spicy.
I'll get a quesadilla that we can all just kind of have a bite of. And because the noodles are going to be... noodles ain't really a group thing.
Yeah, get a quesadilla. That's a good idea.
You want me to stick my hands in your noodles?
We can all, like, share a noodle in there.
Yeah. Oh, look, they got momos, like, which are... what are those not desserts, those dumplings.
That's low carb. That's good.
I'm not going to get them actually because butter chicken momos.
Okay, yeah. It's not exactly healthy.
Let's wrap this up with the samosas, but he ain't going near a samosa.
No, it's not. Quesadilla is probably a good shout, I guess.
What about a Punjabi samosa chaat? Would you have some? You would have some? All right, then I'll get it.
I like a good chaat.
All right, done. A bit of chaat, a bit of a quesadilla, a bit of tea.
A chaat before
a bit of laughs, a bit of lads.
Yeah. Just lads having a chaat as well.
Yes, lads having a chaat. Well, this is basically the pre-party.
Yeah, well, yeah.
We're having a pre-party with thousands of people listening right now, thinking, when are they going to talk about something actually beneficial?
If the audience ever wondered how do these guys order food, there you go.
Yeah, exactly. Now, watch this. Oh, I want to pay. And it's done.
Wow.
We're still processing. Okay. Now, I paid with my face, which is... a feature has been around Apple for years, actually.
Exactly. I was about to say, I'm pretty sure most people do that.
Yeah. All right. So look. So here's what. Let's talk about something beneficial, right? First topic of the pod. I know you got something to discuss as well. Yeah. I was quite frustrated that we didn't have a ENAT doc for this episode because there was things that happened throughout my last 2 weeks or 3 weeks that we haven't done an episode. Where that would have been perfect to speak about. Like I had some genius business ideas, I'll be honest. Can't remember any of them now. Wish I wrote them down. I don't do journaling and stuff, but I did remember one thing that I wanted to talk to you about. This is actually quite serious, bro. I have I realized yesterday actually that I have a serious addiction with my phone again. Okay. No, for real. I say
so do I, by the way.
But I battled it. So I'm better than you. No, joking. I never considered that I was addicted to my phone, right? But I did realize that if you spend too much time on your phone, it's not productive and stuff like that. And so I a few years ago, when I was on this thing of waking up early now, as I've alhamdulillah since then, always been an early riser, and added other parts of discipline in my life, tracking my food a bit more than absolutely anything, ordering a samosa chaat with the lads.
Or you should look at Crownies right now.
Yeah, exactly. على كل حال, I realised that I should be a bit more disciplined with my phone. So I never really had a big phone issue, I don't think. But perhaps it's because I've not had much order in my life the last 2 weeks because I haven't had responsibility of kids and a wife. So I've been a bit more just relaxed. Maybe that's what it is. But yesterday I finished a meeting at 10 p.m. because obviously the guys at Tortilla are American and Canadian and stuff. So meetings are quite late. Finished at 10 and I still had a few bits to do before I went to bed. And... well, frustratingly, I realized 10 became 11 really quickly, and I had done nothing but be on my phone.
Yeah.
And that's when I thought, this is a serious, I would class that as like an addiction or like a really big problem, because an entire hour of my day, do you know how many things I get done in an hour because of I pride myself on trying to be productive? And that was like the least productive hour of my recent existence, and I realized that that's a problem. So as of today, I have been starting to think about ways I can counter that, what I deem to be an addiction now, because I actually got mesmerized into scrolling for a whole hour. It was ridiculous. And then what happens is, after that hour, you hate yourself, you get angry, you get frustrated, because like, I could have been in bed earlier, because the kids are up at 5:30, 6 a.m, bro. Right now I'm single dad in it, while my missus is in Qatar. So I'm thinking, I'm up in the morning. It's just everything. You just start being annoyed at what you just did. So I was like, I don't want to go through that again. I love the idea of going from action to action to action to action to action to action, and every single action being productive, and knowing what I'm doing next. And if there's no action next, then it's sleep. If my day finishes at 8:30, I'm in bed at 8:30. There's no need to hang around for an hour because it's too early to go to bed. So I was frustrated at that, actually, and so now I'm thinking, I thought that would be a good thing to publicly bring up, that as a 29-year-old man with wife and kids, I'm battling a phone addiction.
Well, it's a common thing, man, and I don't exclude myself from that. But what ways are you hoping to battle it? Like, what's the plan? What's the strategy?
My strategy has always been to do before I think. Because, if you're like, okay, my next step is make wudu because I need to go to the masjid or whatever, or pray. If you make wudu without thinking further than that, you'll make wudu. But if you think, but let me just like sit on my phone for a second and check this message and stuff like that, that's where shaitan, I think, comes in. That's one thing. But the second thing, that the most life-changing statement outside of an Islamic reminder that's happened to me in my recent life has been, coincidentally, or perhaps not coincidentally, the most viral clip of Instagram of all time, which is when Ricky Nuttall said to me, when you're feeling overwhelmed, which is something that I often feel, just focus on your next step. Bro, I've used that since he said that to me. To this day, I use it on a daily basis. I think to myself, I'm going, and then I go, hold on a second, what's my next step? And then I tell myself what my next step is, and I do that. I just do that. And then after that step, I'll ask myself, what's my next step? And so I need to return back to that, because if I don't ask myself what's my next step, guess what's going to happen? I'm going to default to my phone, which is never a next step, unless I have something to do on that phone. So, yeah.
That's a good point. I like that.
Yeah.
Fine. Okay, so the thing I wanted to talk about, now we've got that out of the way.
Yeah, exactly. Do you not want to comment any further? Yeah.
Thanks for the update. Anyway, let's get on the episode. No. So before we switch cameras on, Abdullah asked me like what my topic was going to be, and I was like, recently I had a conversation with somebody, and we were just talking about like a hardship that somebody else was going through, and we were like trying to empathize something, and that person said, "Man, you could really like lose your mind in that situation," right? And at that point, I thought like, man, we often, I'm going to include myself in this again because it's advice to myself first and foremost, like this thing we're discussing wasn't that big of a deal, but we have this like, inclination to like hyperbolize things, right? Oh, it's a big thing in that person's life. They could lose their mind. They could like, really fall into depression, so on and so forth. And I was thinking to myself, really and truly, like why don't we just like default to sabr in these situations instead of saying to somebody, wow, that's a horrible thing, you could like really lose your mind in that situation, right? And my point there being like, I want to word this correctly. When something happens, we're supposed to have sabr at the first strike calamity, isn't it? Right? At the first strike calamity, inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. You're supposed to like remember Allah and be patient at that time, not when it's died down.
Sure.
So when things are happening, we should be reminding each other, that's like, no, this is the time to be patient, not the time to remind people that, wow, this is a big situation. What a horrible calamity this is for you. This could affect you.
That's a very good point, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Instead, it should just be like, okay, that, we know tests are coming. We know big tests are coming. We even know death is coming for everybody. We know we should have sabr with it.
There's time and place. You know what? This reminds me of something that I've like lived with for a few years that I really regret, and it's when I didn't have that wisdom on that exact thing that you mentioned. Let me just turn the AC on because I don't want the camera to die out.
Yeah. That didn't sound.
So this is the first time I'm saying this publicly, right? But I was thinking about this recently. Is that I had a similar scenario once where I very unwisely, when somebody was going through a hardship, I don't think this is what you're talking about, or is it? Tell me. Someone was going through a hardship, and I said something that's kind of on that level, and then someone else was like, "Why did you say that at that time? That was like the worst thing you could have said." And I was like, "Oh snap! Like I never considered that." Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah,
Not
I guess
really.
so. Like, two things. Like, one is like to the other person, the person going through it. That's one thing. And another thing is like, if it's happening to you, if you're going through like a difficulty, it's like, how do you talk to yourself? Like, kind of like what I said, like maybe an episode or two ago, where it's like, you got to be your own best friend in your head type of thing. Same kind of thing, where it's like, if you're going through something, your default should not be like to hyperbolize it and say, wow, this is the biggest test of my life right now. I haven't had any, it's like, bruv, you don't need to say that. You know tests are coming. Your initial reaction should be, okay, this is what was promised. I'm going to get tested with this and that. What's upon me is just to have sabr with it, and to know that if I react to this correctly, I'm going to get rewarded, inshallah.
Yeah.
And I'm going to, perhaps my positions in the akhirah are going to be increased by this.
Yeah.
And perhaps my sins are going to be forgiven by this. Right? You should put positive spin on it. Have good thoughts of Allah. Be optimistic instead of like, wow, let me break down in my head just what a big test this is. Like, what exactly are you going to achieve through that? We know from the Quran and Sunnah, sabr is what you need to do in these situations.
Yeah.
And as usual, as always, whatever is Islamically upon us to do in certain situations is better for us.
Yeah.
When you have sabr, you're constantly, one, you're not complaining to yourself or others, because that's part of having sabr, is not complaining to others. You complain to Allah, but you don't complain to the people.
That's right.
Right? And similarly, we shouldn't in our own heads be like hyperbolizing it over and over again. Instead, it should just be positive thinking, man. Like,
Have a proactive mindset.
And thinking positive of Allah, knowing that
He will get you out of it.
Allah can get you out of anything. Allah doesn't burden us with more than it can bear. So if you're in a situation, you should never be thinking like, man, this is, I could lose my mind in this situation, or someone could lose their mind in this situation. Like, no, you won't, because you can handle it. You should tell yourself you can handle it. That's why you're in a situation, and inshallah, bi'idhnillah, you'll get out of it, and you'll be stronger. You'll be a stronger believer, inshallah. You should be thinking that way, more positive, rather than like, wow, this is like, I had another test 4 years ago, but maybe this is a bit bigger than that. It's like, bro, what? These are like just negative circles that you're running in, when you could be actually like just feeling. And again, this is advice to myself, because I fall into it a lot. But in a sometimes where I do get into that good mode, where I'm like spinning bad situations in a good way, you almost feel like happy about that. You start to feel like, wow, like I could get a lot from this situation, instead of feeling like it's just beating me down. So yeah, that conversation sort of triggered that, and advice to myself, man, basically. No,
I agree with you. I understand what you're saying. I kind of was talking about maybe like the opposite, but I understand what you're saying in that having sabr is the best thing to do in times of hardship. Like you said, easier said than done. We all struggle with it, but only positive if you are like that, because like kind of reminding yourself of the hardship, beating yourself up, though it can feel like a good short-term solution, or like it's like satisfying, instantly. It's tempting. It's not as productive as like there's a level of like giving yourself benefit of doubt, being soft on yourself, and not being too harsh on yourself. Like you said before, I think you gave some really good advice. And actually, somebody recently said, I can't remember who, but said to me there was something that was said on the podcast by Kaya once, which really benefited me, which was this statement when you said that you have to be your own best friend in your head. So I think that's true, but the balance of it is that, but also you have to have sabr and deal with hardships in the right way.
You're gone.
No, so the thing that I was going to say is that we had a situation once at Freshly Grounded where we had a revert brother on the podcast 5 years ago, bro, and it's 5 years later, I still feel so heavy-hearted about it. I just feel horrible about it, but I don't feel like, I'm such an evil person. I just feel like I'm really grateful that it happened, because I think since then, I think Allah taught me a lesson there, which was think before you speak, which I kind of had an issue with like growing up and regretted what I've said sometimes. And I'm glad that Allah put people in my life who would pull me up on it, because that happened. So we had a revert brother put on a podcast. His dad had very, very recently passed away. He jumped on a pod, did an episode, lovely brother. Everyone will know who he is. I just don't want to mention it because I don't want to make a thing of it. But having an episode, emotional episode, and at one point subhanallah, bro. I said the most unwise thing you can say to a revert brother whose parent passed away, who's not Muslim. I said like something along the lines of, I don't remember word for it, but something along the lines of like it must feel crushing. Like I can't relate to how like crushing it must feel that like your parents passed away non-Muslim and you can't even make dua for them. And it was a genuine thought in my head, and it felt sincere in my head, and it didn't feel, but I didn't step out from my body and say, imagine how this is going to sound to someone who's just lost their dad. Yeah. And the person on the podcast handled it great and is a professional and never brought it up with me, and I'm sure probably didn't even like, maybe it didn't even like, they didn't think about it like that. But Sam, and this is what friends are for, bro. Friends aren't just for giving you props and praising you. They're for pulling you up when you've fallen a bit. And Sam pulled me up on it later, privately. He said, bro, why did you say that? Like, the guy's just lost his dad. He's non-Muslim. Like you always say, oh, how does it feel that you're not? And I was like, wow, like, that's so true. Yeah. And I felt horrible about it. I still feel horrible about it now, reliving it to this day. And it made me realize something that's so important, bro, that I think that a lot of us don't think about, or a lot of people who are like me, who are very like extroverted, they thrive off of social settings, just want to talk to people, just want to be around people, happy to be vulnerable, and the downside of that is that sometimes you don't think about what you're saying, and just because it might come from a sincere place in your head, it doesn't mean that it's the right thing to say. And there's been a few times in my life when I've said things that I think I haven't been wise. That was one of them. I've like always thought about it, and it's but I'm grateful for it in the sense that it was a great wake up call to me from Allah to say, think about things before you speak, because they do have repercussions. And now I think I do that. Yeah. I think I do think before I speak, or at least I think more than I did. Contrary to what I was just saying, which is like my route to productivity is do without thinking.
Yeah. You got the same trait, and I've tried since I've started being on Freshly Grounded. I've realised my negative traits when it comes to speaking a lot more, because I have listened to back a few, as you asked me before, but also because just like there's been a few times where I've just like spoken like too much, man. I said stuff that like spoken too much, right? So this last year I've had like a lot of like moments where I thought, man, I really need to like think before I speak. But this trait of like trying to fit a joke in, I have the same trait, and especially as growing up, like I'm trying to tone it down, trying to fit the joke in, because a joke is part of my personality. Like, I like to make jokes. And so, but sometimes I do it without thinking about the wording or thinking about what the other person will feel like. And I told you a story before, but it was when I was meeting your brother, Omar, like,
you told me this
6 years ago, 6 years ago now, maybe something like that. And like, something happened on a train. We were meeting at a coffee shop. His train, like, the whole like train station like closed down. Something happened, like someone jumped in front of a train, something like that, crazy, yeah. So he was gonna be like half an hour late. So he messaged me, I'm gonna be like half an hour late. The train has stopped. I was like, yeah, fine, cool. So I'll do my work. When he came, this first time I'm meeting him, obviously I want to say a joke, yeah? It's not really the time, to be honest, like, but whatever, it's just how I was.
It's always best to be safer. I've realised that now. I'm like you, like I would like to go in with an impressive joke.
Yeah, exactly.
Now as I got older, I've realised it's always safer to stay on the safe side of the grey area and just be like, Assalamu alaikum, bro, lovely to see you. Yeah.
100%. And now I know that. Back then, this is what taught me the lesson. I didn't think about what a joke would be. I was doing my work. So he's walked in and, I should say some sort of funny.
I should impress this man.
Yeah. I have to say something witty immediately. Yeah. So I was like, get her on time.
Oh, no.
I was like, as soon as it came out of my mouth, I was like, what did you just say to this guy? I was like, basically like mocked it, like he's late. I mocked it, or like, it's not even that. It was like, I made it sound like I was annoyed.
But I remember you telling me this, and I remember I like saying to Omar, like, I just met this Kai. I remember the guy, like, and bro, he was like, he didn't think about it at all. I don't think, he was like, oh, bro, yeah, Kai's lovely. So
I love him about it because he's a lovely guy. But for anyone else, they would have been like, why
I think like we beat ourselves up by it more than
a little bit,
but it is important. Yeah, it is a misstep.
It's a misstep, and inshallah I've learned from it. But for sure, thinking jokes. The other thing, going back very quickly, I know we need to keep this episode short. You were saying about like, and Abdullah was also saying it to me like before we switched on the microphones, about like what I just said in terms of like having sabr when calamity strike, things like that. Abdullah was saying like, different people deal with things different ways, and you do have to like show some empathy in times. And I agreed, and I said like, you have to be empathetic, but also like, I do think that advice is the correct advice anyway. But it's important to clarify that just because I'm saying to myself like something big happens, just stiff up a lip, have sabr with it, get on with it, think positive of Allah. It's not invalidating your feelings. It's not invalidating that you're going for a test. It's not invalidating the fact you're sad and it hurts. doesn't invalidate any of that. It's true, but the advice still stands regardless.
Yeah. Look, the Islamic advice is best advice, like how to deal with hardships, obviously, sabr and salah and stuff. But yeah, like equally, as you've mentioned, like it doesn't invalidate. I think, and like, you know, there's countless times in like the seerah or in the lives of the Sahaba where we see sadness, they felt sadness, and that's fine. And I think that's the tough thing about social media actually, is that you can say something like you just said, which is 100% wholly true, but in individual circumstances, other advice might be more, more applicable for that specific context. And the thing that's annoying about social media is that people might, at a time where the other advice is more applicable, cut your advice and put it, and it's like, that's what's frustrating. So none of what you've said is invalid, but the tough thing about things in the public realm is that, and that's what I battle with a lot, is the struggle of like accepting that happens.
This will probably be clipped, and like what I just said will probably be clipped and made into like a trillion views.
Yeah, one thing is you're about to go viral.
You know? Exactly that. But this is it. I mean, what you're saying is correct. Like that's the general rule, and the rule for like the vast majority of the time. There may be certain instances where like, okay, someone's just heard that someone's died. I don't want to jump in with this advice like in the first 10 seconds. Let me wait like a few. Like there's obviously you got to have hikmah of how you do this stuff. We're not saying that you don't. But yeah, that's of course the advice, man. I
think that's one of my favorite things about Islam, which is that the rules are so clear and set, yet there's also like a lot of wisdom in the religion, and a lot of when like executed correctly, a lot of leeway and understanding given to the particular context of a situation, the context of the person, the context of the culture at the time. Like the hadith where, you know, the old man went to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and asked if he can kiss his wife while fasting, and he was told that he could. And then a young man asked the same question and was told that he couldn't. And it was because of the fact that an old man won't feel desires as much, and therefore potentially break his fast when kissing his wife, whereas a young man may, and that's an example of where like a great example of where like, you know, you have to look at context of situations. And that's one of my favorite things, where I think that's like why you can't fault Islam. Like you try and fault Islam and it's impossible, because it's like someone might say, oh, but what about this? And it's like, well, if you sincerely, and this goes back to like what we were saying about if you're trying to seek the truth, step number one is you must be sincere. Because you can criticize anything when you're not sincere. But if you're sincere, then you go, well, that makes sense. That makes sense. But what about this? And it's like, well, given that context, it's like that. But in certain situations, it might be like that. And it's like, oh, well, that makes sense. And then it's like everything just, you know, there's obviously like the aqidah stuff, the hard and fast stuff that like there's, you know, no wavering on. But then even like with the salah, even then with the salah, it's like, well, you can combine in this scenario, you can shorten in this scenario. You don't have to go to Jum'ah in this scenario. You don't have to go to the masjid in this scenario. You know, it's incredible. It's easy. Like you said, it's easy. So I love Islam, man. I love the religion, and the more you think about it, the more you deep it, the more you analyze it, the more in love you fall with it. If you're being sincere, if you're being insincere, you can critique anything.
That what you just said is like one small branch of like the religion. Obviously, not a small branch, but it's like a branch of religion. Where it's like it's proof that like the more you dig into Islam, the more evident that it's just the truth.
100%.
I mean, these like there's so many, you know, areas of it where it's just like the truth is just clear. Like you were saying there, like certain situations where this will be the case, other situations that will be the case, and each of them makes so much sense. You know. And yeah, man, the more you look into this, the more knowledge you get. Not that I've got any knowledge, but the more you just look into these different little rulings, things like this, not little rulings, these different rulings, the truth is unmistakable, man. So
I'll end with this, bro. I saw a video yesterday on YouTube Shorts, probably when I was going through my scrolling addiction. But this was one of the good videos. It was on Ilm Feed, and it was a sheikh in Kuwait. I don't know if you guys saw this. And this AC is finishing me. I'm still not used to it because of the UK. So it was a sheikh in Kuwait, and a earthquake had happened. And did you see it?
I think I did, yeah.
Did you see it? But you know what I'm talking about? Oh, really? It's the dopamine, more dopamine.
You got like scrolling.
So what happened is, so what happens is, as soon as he's given a class after Fajr, this sheikh, and as soon as the earthquake happens, you can see he's a bit scared, and instantly, like half a second after, he starts just reciting different adhkar, remembrance of Allah, saying, oh Allah forgive us, oh Allah forgive the Muslims, oh Allah forgive the foolish among us, the earth only shakes because of sin, la ilaha illallah. And bro, when I saw that, what I thought to myself is, I'm seeing a man here who seems incredibly pious. I don't know who the sheikh, may Allah preserve him, is, but you can see that someone who's remembering Allah in a time where, subhanAllah, my mic was so high that whole episode. A sheikh who's like a person who's remembering Allah. And do you know what I thought to myself? I thought, and I think about this regularly. I might have mentioned it on the pod before. I thought he's going to be judged. By the way, we don't know him in private, right? But like, whether it's this sheikh or anyone else, like fill in the gaps, a pious man, yeah. When you look at that, when I looked at that clip, what I thought is that man is going to be judged by the same Lord that I'm going to be judged by. And sometimes we think it's like one rule for them and one rule for us. And like, I'm good enough because I'm not meant to be a sheikh, or I'm not meant to be a hafiz, or I'm not meant to be a scholar, or people have, another one I tell myself all the time, people have different things that they're strong at, the different ways they serve Allah, which is true, but we're taking it to an extreme by sometimes. And when I saw that clip, that's what I thought. And I thought, you know what? I'd be embarrassed if I died at this point with where I am really in my level of iman, because why should I not be striving to be a scholar or a person or someone who has maximum amount of knowledge, or teaching classes after Fajr and all of these kind of things, because I'm going to be judged by the same Lord, and I'm going to have to I'm going to have to answer for all the time that I had. And am I really being sincere when I say things like, oh, I need to work for X, Y, and Z reasons? Or is it really because I want to gain a lot of capital and live a luxurious life? If I really was living so that I can attain Jannah, I probably would I be living a much different life? And ultimately it made me think, well, why am I not in the next few years trying to get myself to a point where I am trying to be the best Muslim? And that's not Faisal Chowdhury being the best Muslim as you see Faisal Chowdhury now. That's like, trying to like become Hafiz and like really trying to achieve like huge goals that are for everybody to try and achieve. So yeah, that's what I thought.
Just add one final thing, because like that example kind of encapsulates what I've been trying to say this whole episode, which is like, I don't think I did see this, by the way, but
so that was your point.
Yeah. Yeah. The sheikh, he feels the earthquake, scared at the beginning, but then he remembers like, just do dhikr, remember Allah. That's kind of what we're trying to say. Is like, when something big happens, like it's happening. You know, tests are coming your way. Once you've understood that, okay, a test is afflicting me, it's just time to have sabr and remember Allah at that point.
Yeah.
Do what is required of you, because bro, we're all gonna die. Yeah. At one point, could be very soon, could be in a few years, could be like 20 years, but you're going to die. Every soul will taste death. You may as well die upon sabr. Yeah, it's true. Simple as that. Yeah. Kaya, it was lovely to have you back on. Let's have a next chat next week. Let's make it about like the kind of episodes that we had before, because we haven't had like an ideation episode in a while. Yeah, and finally, like again, that advice is for myself first and foremost. May Allah make me and everybody in this room and all the Muslims, die upon sabr, die upon Islam. And also one more clarification. Last time I was on, I said all the Turkish restaurants in Haringey were actually Kurdish. Oh, got a bit of backlash on that one. Did you? Yeah, a little bit. Really? Certain segments. I had to clarify because it was not true. It's Turkish food, but there's like mostly Kurdish owners, but it's Turkish food. I thought it was Kurdish food, but it's actually Turkish food. Right. But yeah. Right. So for the one person that complained about that, there's a clarification. When I'm wrong, I've got to say I'm wrong. Jazakallah khair, man. Allah bless you and keep you sincere. Assalamu alaikum. Wa alaikum assalam.